Maven Nation, and welcome to another episode of Talking That Maventalk. I am super excited today to have my personal health and wellness coach with us today, Practitioner LaShanna Leonard Moore. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, baby.
With her golden hair, ponytails, her buns. I love it.
My puff buns
The
today.
puff buns. That's super cute.
I'm trying to be 12.
Listen, for this very topic we're getting ready to talk about, these
I
hormones,
know.
we would all like to be 12.
Yes.
We would all like to
Yes.
be 12. Let me start by saying this. I am of the beautiful 50 plus group and going a little deeper in next month, less than a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And listen,
How you feel?
some days we all right, and other days I'm like, are we yet gonna make it through?
This is it.
And that's the weird journey.
Yes.
That's the weird part for me.
Mhm.
Is I'm a very consistent person. I can create a routine, and my
Yes.
routine works for me.
Yeah.
Right now, the routines are no longer working.
Mhm.
And that is what got me reaching out to you to pay for a paid consult, come
Yeah.
up with a new strategy,
Yeah.
because what had been working no longer works. Of the working out and sweating and the eating clean, all
Yeah.
the things that I had been doing that were working.
Right.
Now the pounds are starting to eat back on, the belly fat is showing up, the fatigue is showing up. Like
Yeah.
that was never really an issue for me. And I feel like I'm doing all this work, let's say over the last 6 months, and it's just been kind of for nothing. It's been me doing a routine that I've had,
Mhm.
and having my consult with you. You really explained that as we get older and our hormones start to shift, we have to start doing some things differently. And we're going to talk about that a little more, but I still laugh at myself to this day when
Wow.
you told me that, my go get it workouts, my hit
Right.
workouts, like,
And
you
she
know,
is a beast, y'all. She bams it. Okay, let it be known.
let it be known. And when you were like, maybe that's probably not going to be what's going to work right now, I was like,
Yeah.
and when you gave me my like 20 to 30 workout, like brisk walk or bicycling and calisthenics, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be enough.
Right.
But
Right.
that's the conditioning of my mind through the 30s and 40s to go hard, to get at
Exactly.
it. And it's at this point that we don't have to maybe go as hard. We just have to do things a little different and a little bit smarter. So,
Right.
this has been a new part of the journey for me.
Yeah.
And just want y'all to know LaShanna is very patient, because I am texting her throughout the day with, okay, well, what about this? Well, can I have that? Well, what?
And it's really okay. Listen, y'all, I'm very glad she's doing this episode though, because it's real, it's raw, it's honest. You are going to listen to this episode and say, finally,
Somebody's talking about
real women having real
it.
conversation
Yes.
about an imperfect path that's not a straight line, and how you will not feel alone. So I applaud the Maven for doing this episode, because I know that it's going to identify with so many women. We all go through it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all.
And even me just mentioning that we were doing this episode to women, they're like, yes, finally, I need this information. So let's start out first by just we'll talk about the phases of menopause, but let's start with what does a woman need to do to kind of understand her foundation, like where she's at. Once you talk about these different phases, how do we kind of figure out where we are in that, what phase, so we know what to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say it's necessary for us to know our baseline. Our baseline is just our general context of well-being, how we are physically, our everyday activity, our eating style or rhythm, which doesn't have to be strict. It doesn't have to be regimented, but we do need to be able to articulate in general how we eat, how our digestion works, our digestive system works, really have just a general gauge on our well-being and our health from the inside out. That's what I consider your baseline. Then the second thing you want to look at is really your age bracket, because once we get into all of these pauses, pre, peri, and meno, and that's really like all of it is like a 15 to 25 year span, because then you're also going to have a postmenopausal phase, and I consider them all rites of passages.
We'll have
So
a post what?
postmenopause, yes. Da, da,
Well,
da.
yet another phase. Okay.
Sound effects technician. Yet another phase. So
Another phase.
this is why gatherings and conversations like this, I think, are necessary, because it helps us to set our mind and our adjustments to what's ahead. So I do look at them as rites of passages. And if we are equipped and feel supported during these rites of passages, we don't have to put on the black veil, but to mourn going into
Right.
each one of them, but we can kind of embrace them and learn how to thrive even through these years. So
Yeah.
that's the baseline.
Yeah.
Looking at your age range, trying to see where you are in your age range, which typically is between 35 and 55.
Okay.
Hormones are starting to take their shift. And then having your support system, both medically, holistically, and social. That's going to be important.
Yeah. And it takes listen, all women go through this, but
Mm,
yet I feel there's still this stigma of shame around menopause and hormones and the hot flashes and the night sweats and all of the things that come with it. We all know we're going to go through it or are going through it. Yet
right.
there's almost this thing of, but don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, we're gonna talk about it
Oh,
on
yes.
Maventalk because
Yes.
I know for me, for my support system, and I want to say to women that I see a medical doctor,
Mhm.
and I also have you as my holistic practitioner. You take the route that works for you. If you only want to do
Right.
a medical professional, that's fine. If you only want to do holistic combination, do what works for you. I'm really going to be sharing what has worked for me, even really um 5 years ago before I was in this current phase, because I feel like I've definitely made a shift a little bit
Been some
deeper
shifts. Yeah. Yeah.
into the
Since
into
I've known you, um, I've
7 years
gone
now.
I've gone through a few.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, and I can think about the shifts and the transitions that you've adjusted to and gone through
Yeah.
also.
And also I think factors in that is your regular lifestyle,
Yeah.
your work. I was in corporate, now
Mhm.
entrepreneur. Like all of those things also just affect
Yes,
um
they do.
everything in our life, which again comes back to my foundation of this whole balance rhythm.
Yeah.
If we are not feeling well
Mhm.
physically,
Mhm.
there is still that's going to be a tough a mountain to climb on living your best life, and not in the sense of the cute quote of living my best life,
Right.
but for
Right.
real,
For real. Right.
living your best life so that you're not constantly feeling like you're weighed down,
Mhm.
that you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to physically move, because none of those things help us
Right.
in that way. So when a woman feels like she's in, she identifies the phase that she is in,
Right.
what would be her next step? And here's something I think is important. When women go for their annual checkup,
Mhm.
I know
Mhm.
when I go for my annual checkup, you give me a list of additional um, lab things that you want to see.
Request. Yeah.
Again, mavens, understand these additional lab requests are not part of your standard. I'm doing air quotes
Right.
standard annual women's blood work.
Right.
So, requesting these additional tests really get you to see in true number where your
Yeah.
hormone levels are, which is
Specifically
really
supposed to be.
important for you to know kind of, because some of the hormone phase you're in depends on family history. When did
Exactly.
mother start menopause, grandmother, all of those things. So it might not, it's not a fixed scale, right?
Right.
Where when you get to 40, this is going to happen.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about these additional blood tests that women can get when they go for their annual exam, and then what they should be doing with some of that information.
Absolutely. It's definitely important. I was thinking about something too, also, Maven, when you were talking about your transition from corporate America into entrepreneurial Maven space, and really just thinking about how your body had to make adjustments that were not even conscious within you at that time.
Right.
Think about all of our shifts. So you were in a very high driven, high stress, high demand environment, and your endocrine system and
Mm.
your adrenal glands had to make an adjustment from that. And they did so, not even with you being where you are now, in all of the knowledge that you have acquired now. Just think about what your body went through in
Yeah.
making that transition first and foremost. And so, as you just mentioned, knowledge is power, because knowing what to ask your doctors, ladies, we did not become a significant part of testing protocols until around 1992. I want to say 1992, which means that all of the testing networks and standards and adjustments were designed for men, and predominantly white men.
Hmm.
So our numbers read different. What we require is different. Our bodies change, and our hormones. We've got quite a few, and what our hormones are in general are messengers. They are chemical messengers that are always traveling throughout the body, giving messages for every organ and every function in our body. But because we go through different changes in a period of a month,
Hmm.
based on lifestyle, this is why it's important that we ask for a specific test. We're different than men. At any given point, our readings can be different based on where we are within our health, or within different changes and shifts. So I would just say that that's why it's one reason why it's very important for you to know specifically what kind of test to ask for. I would also add to that, because this is common with diabetic testing, and you'll see it reflected on your labs, is to ask your phlebotomist, your lab technician, your physician, are there any specifications in this test for Black women or for
Oh,
Black?
wow. You can specifically ask
You
for
can
that.
ask
Okay.
those questions, because when you're being tested, like for men, when they're being tested by a urologist, or when we're being tested um, for our hormones, when labs are being drawn, blood is being drawn, certain tests are going to, we need to look at a range, not just from the general range of average, because they're going to give you below average and then above. But there
Hmm.
are some numbers that you need to know, taken into account that people of color, women of color, our readings are different.
Okay.
Case in point, cholesterol, a cholesterol reading. A physician needs to know your background and your medical history, and a lot more about you, and kind of where you are in the shifts and seasons of life, because cholesterol readings are not always indicative of an unhealthy lifestyle. It could be because, just like gestational diabetes, a woman who is pregnant has that temporary diabetes phase. The same happens with us when we are going through the menopausal phase. Your cholesterol can read high. You can be experiencing insulin resistance, and you have never had issues with your blood sugar or your insulin most of your life. But these are changes that happen as we mature.
Okay.
Those are some reasons why it's necessary to ask. You have the freedom to ask those questions. Are there any specific indicators with this test, with me being a Black woman?
And listen, that makes sense, because that, listen, Maven Nation, that's what got me up in arms and alarmed.
Uh-huh.
Is, again, I go to the doctor, live a fairly healthy lifestyle, consistent working out. I'm pretty clean eating through the week, and will give more relaxation on the weekends. Went for my annual checkup several months ago, and they were like, cholesterol's high, glucose is high. I'm like, high for who? Like, what is happening? And that
Yes.
is really what prompted me to start digging a bit more, because again, now, had I just been living life off the walls and doing
Right.
whatever. I'm like, okay, I need to get clean. I need to get right. But I was pretty right. I was pretty good.
You
So that's what truly alarmed me. It frustrated me. It annoyed me probably above anything is that no
yes.
wait a doggone minute. I've been doing all this work.
Trying,
And this
yes.
is what the people say right now.
Right.
That I at that moment I felt like I was just thrown into
Mm.
you with the whole general population of people that are not taking care of themselves.
Right. Exactly.
And I was
Exactly.
clutching all of my pearls, like, well, wait,
Right.
that's not what we're doing. So mavens understand if you've been for an
Hmm.
annual checkup, any type of doctor's appointment, and you get these lab results that you're like, now this is not really in alignment with what I know I've been doing. And that doesn't mean I'm not saying just because you've been trying to live a healthy lifestyle, some things couldn't be out of whack.
Right.
But don't throw in the towel, put your head in the sand and go, well, I just need to give up because I've been doing all of this good work. And
Yeah.
the nice little people at the doctor's office just told me I'm no good. Like it's all that's
Take
how I was feeling. Now those are my
right.
words. That's what I
Right.
was feeling. But
And I
that
think that's encouragement too for others who like you and like me too. When I got my PCOS diagnosis, I'm like, bro,
I
wait a
remember
minute.
that. Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I wasn't arrogant, but I was very confident. Look, I know what to do.
Right.
What do
Yeah.
you mean
Yeah.
PCOS? And what is this?
Yeah.
So, we have to normalize it. Take heart, you all, as you hear Maven sharing her own story. And if you know Maven, you know that she's driven, she's disciplined, she's focused. She's not anybody who you have to run behind or sneak up and say, see, I knew you weren't following the plan. She is made. Listen, y'all, what you see and what you hear is what you get. I will vouch for that.
We
Knowing
we
this
we
woman
we
in
we trying to
front
live it over here.
and
We're trying to
behind
live it.
closed doors, she talks the talk and walks the walk. And
Yeah.
so if she's sharing this with you, just take a deep breath
Yeah.
and know that you're not crazy.
Yeah. That's yes,
You're,
that
you're
part. And you're not lazy and you're
right,
not being attentive to what your body's telling you,
right.
right? And I think that was the main driver, one of the main drivers. This is just important information we want the Black
Mm,
female community to have. But
especially,
listen, when the people
especially.
told me my numbers, then I was like, we're gonna have to speed up the episode because I'm telling you, I was just like,
It'll take you there.
what are
Yeah,
these? And I literally said when I got in my car, this is why I'll be coming to the doctor's office because these people don't know.
right,
I
right.
just, again, I felt so just disjointed
Yeah,
from what I had been focused
and
on trying to
discouraged.
do. And then all of a sudden, and this is a Myra disclaimer, okay?
Uh-oh.
The doctor's people,
Yeah,
and I'm just going to say the doctor's people, it's, and I guess because maybe they give this type of disturbing news to people all day, every day.
right, right.
It was a little too casual for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the what okay, I'm like, what do I need to do? Again, I'm a
Noticing.
strategist, so I'm always looking for the plan. It
Right.
was very well, don't eat fatty foods, make sure you exercise out, ma'am.
Boxes have been checked. What else you got?
I'm doing all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you can also take some Metamucil.
Mm.
Who? Some Meta
Mm.
what?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. LaShanna,
Yeah, I remember.
again,
I remember, yeah.
and I remember telling you this, LaShanna. One of the biggest things I also felt was powerless all of a
Yes,
sudden because
yes.
I'm like, they have told me this. Now they're giving me, excuse my language, half-ass information on how to correct it.
Right.
And,
So
and I just,
nonchalantly.
yeah, and I just felt like my power all of a
Mm,
sudden was gone on me feeling like I had some power in how my body is going to
mhm,
behave. And
mhm.
that's when I had just my quick conversation with you. When we got off the phone, I was like, okay, at least I feel like I have my power back. And
Yeah.
I know the steps I now need to take. Because again, if you're interacting with your doctor, one would think
Mhm.
that they're going to give you, again, from me, more proactive steps.
Right.
I wasn't looking to just kind of stay on that treadmill and just wind up later
Mhm,
on some
mhm.
form of medication. I'm like, okay, how do we correct this,
Right.
reverse it, whatever needs to happen?
Right.
And so ladies, if you're feeling powerless,
Yeah.
understand that getting the right information from someone that truly knows, again, just the detail, LaShanna, that you went through with me of how Black women's bodies do behave differently. And when we really get into those menopause phases,
Mm-hmm.
how that belly fat likes to go right to our hips
Oh,
and
yeah.
bellies and thighs. Like
Bad. Mm-hmm.
that's what wants to happen, right? And so I think I just want women to be encouraged that if they
Right.
are find themselves in this situation, or you find yourself in this situation, even after you've viewed this video and it's a year or two down the road,
Right.
be
Don't
encouraged
stop.
and take the
Mhm.
proactive step
Mhm.
of getting your power back and connecting with someone that can really help you understand what you need to do for your body. Now, again, I use this hashtag Maven approve. LaShanna is Maven approve. Okay.
Thank you,
Y'all know
man.
I don't be bringing people to y'all that is not about their real business, because that's not the life we live in over here.
Thank you, man.
Y'all, this is how we really do behave with each other. This is
Right.
hilarious.
I
But
cannot be sterile, you all. I can't be clinically correct. You have
and that's
to
I think
have
makes people, again,
personality
one of the
for this
great
work.
things about you and how you share information, how you break it down. I feel like, okay, well, I don't have to be a practitioner or a doctor to understand what
Right.
she's telling me. I
Yeah.
need information that I can bite on and do something about, versus, you're talking over someone's head. So let's talk a little bit about how do how do women, if they are in this situation, right?
Mhm.
They've kind of looked at some details, they've gotten some tough numbers, they're not really sure about exactly what to do. Maybe even their doctor's recommending, get on this prescription and this prescription. And if
Right.
that is not the route they want to go, how do they, what should they do to connect with you, and what information will you be asking them for to get
Right.
started with you?
Absolutely. So let's kind of visit some of the general symptoms of really all three of these pauses, these
Okay.
phases: pre, peri, and menopause. So your pre-menopause typically will start, and this is a general range, because there are other things that women will experience and go through, like partial hysterectomy, chemotherapy, different health challenges that will change these generalities. So this is
Okay.
generally speaking. Usually around 35 is when the reproductive hormones, estrogen and progesterone, are declining. The ovaries are ready to retire and say that they have done what they gonna do, and whatever you gonna do, you better get it in, because I'm contacting HR real soon. So do what you gonna do with me, because
Right.
I'm ready to bow out in layman's terms. So that's what's going on with the ovaries. So that happens typically around 35. Every 5 to 10 years, we're losing up to thousands of eggs as it is. And so in the premenopause phase is somewhere around the mid 30s, where you're not really going to see a lot of changes, but you're going to feel some hormonal changes. So maybe a little bit more sluggishness, fatigue, tired. What you want to know is that the reproductive hormones are preparing themselves, and even in that term, preparation, that's still a few years down the line.
Okay.
So around 40, where typically the perimenopause begins, you're going to experience more symptoms. You're going to feel hot, and it's a different kind of heat. It's a hot from within, and it's not the Holy Ghost. Changes in the period can be happening in this phase. So that can be tricky for women who have already had an irregular period, or have already been heavy bleeders for different reasons. Your periods can come closer together, or they can be farther apart. The mood swings typically start because the neurotransmitters and the hormones are having their own meeting, trying
Mhm.
to make adjustments, but their languaging is different. They haven't come together in to speak the same language. So what happens, the byproduct of that is the brain fogginess, hot flashes, mood swings. Your libido is going to change with the estrogen drops. Naturally, we experience a lot more vaginal dryness. You can be a lot more apathetic towards sex. You're good if you have it, you're good if you don't have it. These are just some of the changes that happen by the time, again, generally we are at the threshold of about 50. The body is ready to shift into menopause, which is when you have at least had 12 consecutive months with no period. Lord, am I ready?
You're like, I'll take that part. I'll take that part.
Listen, I'm over it. But this is when the estrogen and the progesterone have really fallen, and that's when you're gonna feel a lot of things. Maven, we touched on this just, I think it was offline conversation, and I ended up I had shared a blog about it where the suicidal rate for women in their 40s and early 50s had risen, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just because they were going through chronic stress and depression. It was because there was so many chemical changes that are happening in the body during that time. They weren't taken seriously. The doctors didn't detect or catch what was going on. They didn't think to go to therapy or to have psychiatric evaluation, and they were having a lot of suicidal challenges. And it's deeper than just emotion.
Right.
Deeper than just emotion. But during this time, your estrogen levels have dropped. You may experience frequent urination, all of the other symptoms that I mentioned, night sweats, hot flashes, and cold sweats that can happen in rotation or can be playing tag and hit you all at once, give you a good rope-a-dope.
Lord help.
These are the things that we are going through. We need the fellas to listen to this episode.
Yes.
These
Yes.
are the things that we're going through. Biochemically, cholesterol levels are spiking. Physically, you're gaining a lot of visceral fat because estrogen is dropping. So our bodies soften, which, if you're already a person that likes to work out, can become very frustrating, because these are physiological changes that are happening. These are hormonal changes that are happening. It's not always because you're not doing the right thing. The drop in those hormones and entering this phase of life is naturally going to want to soften the body. So we do focus on muscle building in more expounded ways. Yes, resistance training, but it requires a little bit more because your collagen is also dropping as well. So this is why the education of it is important. So you have an understanding, I would say, of what's going on. So when you work with me, we're going to talk.
We'll do a lot of talking.
You're going to talk. I'm going to
Listen,
ask
let me give
questions.
this example of this protein.
Mm.
Y'all, just today, okay, I'm over at the nice grocery store, and no, I got up. So LaShanna, in my wellness plan, it included me changing a couple of major things for me: my
Mhm,
workout style
mhm,
and my workout time. I have been working out at around 11 a.m. for probably the last 8 years.
mhm.
And the lady that's on the other side of the screen right here with me wanted me to work out in the morning, early, like when the sun is up
Right.
and whatnot. Because again, that's another thing. Talked about the value of that sun being on your skin.
Yes, your
So that was a
mitochondria.
major thing. And then the, when I come back,
Oh, the
I'm
hydro.
thinking, okay, I don't really want I'm not hungry,
Okay.
right, per se, because I'm up moving a bit earlier than, excuse me, than I had in the past. She started talking about these cold showers. Now, look, okay,
Right. This is
look,
why I have to come recommended, because if Maven doesn't forewarn you, be like, why is she asking me these questions? What does my
right,
shower have to
what
do?
does my shower have to do
Give
with
me
it?
a bit.
And
Right.
listen, y'all, Maven Nation, I was a 6 day a week hot
Mm-hmm.
bath
Mm-hmm.
person. Now the lady is asking me to take not just a shower, but a warm shower and then in with the water as cold as I can stand it. Now,
Right.
I will say, I just have to go ahead and set my mind to get what I needed to be done with that. But even with my breakfast just this morning, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna go do my walk, do a
Mhm.
little bit of calisthenics. Even the time frame, I had been working out for 50 minutes. She's like, maybe in about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
30 minutes. And I'm like, well, that ain't gonna be enough time.
Right.
Again, this is a whole mindset shift.
Condition. How
It's
many
a whole
years?
plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna go do my workout, come back. I'm thinking I'm being so good. I'm like, I'm gonna have a little berry smoothie. I know I don't need a lot of fruit in it because it's got a lot of sugar. The berries are the least sugar. I'm gonna do the
Mhm.
berries. So as I'm drinking this smoothie, I text LaShanna, hey, no, you sent me a picture of a cold brew.
Right.
And I
Right.
was like, oh yeah, just had a berry smoothie. Da, 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 da. And she's like, oh, first thing in the morning, that first meal, you need some
Right.
protein, not the
Yeah.
sugar that's gonna spike your insulin. Girl, you should have saw how I was looking at that smoothie. I didn't even finish it. I was just like, okay,
You didn't.
no, I poured it out. I'm like, not gonna do it.
Oh
I'm not gonna do it. But for lunch, I
yeah.
had some roasted chicken
Okay.
with I did want to get a salad in. So if I'm gonna do raw veggies, I need to do those at lunch, not at dinner. Y'all, these are all the things that come in your comprehensive wellness plan based
It's
on
personal
your,
care.
yeah, and
It's
that
personal.
was what encouraged me, that I didn't get a, okay, here's a general thing, and it
Mhm.
wasn't a meal plan. So you're
Mhm.
not getting a meal plan.
Right.
You're getting some strategies around how to eat to help manage your hormones. So I wanted to share that because I want the ladies listening to this to know they're getting a personalized
It is.
plan for them and their lifestyle. Because again, I was used to working out. You knew how I worked out. So bringing the time down, bringing the style down, changing the time.
Yeah.
If you're a woman that has not been on a workout journey,
Right.
that's fine. LaShanna will be crafting something that gets you moving, because moving is the important thing.
It's definitely is
That,
always
that
important.
gets
Y'all,
gets you
you will
moving.
never hear me excuse you out of movement.
Right.
They change, but yeah, we do. We definitely
Yeah.
have to always move, but
So I
different.
said all that, and now I'm gonna let you tell the people how what they need. How should they come to you? What do they need to come with, other
Right.
than the base, their lab work. You will ask them for their lab work. So
Right.
ladies, when you go and do your lab work, I think a lot of doctors offices now, you log into portals to get that information and you can download it. But if you're not a person that wants to access your portal, make sure you get your lab report so that LaShanna can have that information.
And if you don't have a patient portal, you can usually get it from your doc. You can call your doctor's nurse, and most of the time they will email it to you per authorization, just kind of based on what kind of network or clinic system that you're working with. But it's personalized care. You one client may be dealing with kidney disease, but then I have
Mhm.
another client who's dealing with kidney disease, um, liver damage, and lack of movement,
Okay.
or a lot of a lot of people can have one condition that's the same, but there is always a variance in you. There are some things that you may not be aware of, or there may be some things that I may detect in your lab work or in our conversation or looking at your medical history. And then because you are unique, you want something personal.
Mhm.
You don't want the general script, because you are wonderfully and uniquely made. And so I love that we're about personal care. It takes a lot more time, a lot
Mhm.
more consideration to craft that for you, but it's worth it because it is for you.
Right.
And we tweak as we go. I always say, give yourself grace and time for these things to make their proper adjustments, for you to be able to make those adjustments. And we want you to be able to have something that is sustainable.
Right.
So
That's
that as you
important.
are improving and getting better, you walk away empowered you walk away having some knowledge, you walk away knowing more about your body and how your body ticks and talks.
Yeah, I love it. So, ladies, I'm going to be sure and have LaShanna's information in the show notes at the bottom of this video. Listen, as I told you earlier, she is Maven approved. And even with the phase before this phase of my
Mhm.
life, LaShanna was there with me, and how I had to make some eating adjustments at that phase, early 40s, as to where I am now. And so
Yeah.
understand that our bodies, as we're getting older, listen, which is a good thing, because otherwise you stop waking
Right.
up saying good
That's the
morning.
goal, is to age and age
Yeah,
well.
age well, and that your body is going to be changing, and so you're going to have to make adjustments, and you have the power to be able to do that, connecting with the right resources so that you can do it. I mean, it's going to be frustrating and have its moments, but being able to do it confidently, that's what
Right.
I feel now. I have a confidence plan that will help me move forward with what I need to do. So I will be sure to have her information at the bottom. LaShanna, I'm going to ask you a final question. You're my first
Okay.
guest. I've started asking this question at the
Mm.
end of every show. She's like, oh, Lord, what is this lady going to say? So, my whole brand is about this balance rhythm,
Yeah.
which is really creating success without sacrificing
Mhm.
all your relationships, your health, or your mental sanity. So, give our Maven Nation one item, either part of your morning routine or your evening routine, that you feel greatly contributes to your balance rhythm.
Oh, that's good. It's a combo.
Okay.
I stretch. Um, we have a bedroom in our home that has not been furnished yet, so I
Okay.
am using that room for my meditation. Got all of my little goods and doodads in there, my mat, my bands, and all of that. Taking the time in the morning to stretch my body and breathe and get quiet. I open up the that window and let the sun expose me to it. It lets my body know, ha, produce more vitamin D. That's what the sun does for us. And I breathe and I get quiet and I just go through. I don't, you don't have to follow a routine. You really can follow the flow of your body, listen to what your body says. So, what part of me needs a little bit more time and attention? I've started doing that in the mornings. Now, every morning is not always the same, y'all. Life gets ratchet. Okay. I am not perfect. It's not always the same.
Right.
Sometimes I can really spend time doing it, and there are other times where I have to do a quick version, and then there are times where I sit on the side of the bed and I go head to toe and just kind of, warm my body up. But that has made a big difference because it's warmed my body up. It revs up my mental engine. It allows me to give myself a mental check-in and to prepare mentally for the day and to set my spirit and my mind. So it serves many purposes.
I
And
love
then
it.
I sounded real country right there. Um,
You still love it.
it serves many purposes, and so that I have committed to doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, I agree with you that that morning routine, that's it. I try to
Mhm.
include the stretching, my glass of water to get my body awakened in that way, and
Absolutely.
then the morning, the meditation, prayer, quiet time, whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
I'm with you, Lashana. Some days I can get still and I can read in my little daily
Mhm.
Bible journal and read the inspiration for the day and get quiet and
Mhm.
ask for some
Right.
stuff, but also listen for some answers, right?
Absolutely.
We ask God for things,
Right.
and we take up, we run off, and He'd be like, "Sis,
Yes.
I was trying to give you the answer.
Right.
I need you to come back." So all of that, and I will say this, Maven Nation, once you find what your morning routine is, when you skip it, for me about 11:30 in the morning, my body would be like,
Yeah.
something's not right. I don't, you skip something.
Yeah.
And even in that moment, I try to just stop, even if it's for 5 minutes, and just get still and get
Mhm.
quiet. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, I feel myself racing all
Right.
day. And I'll be like, what, where are you going, Myra?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like, oh, you didn't reset
Right.
and get that quiet time in the morning. So thank you for that. Listen, it is always
Thank
absolutely
you.
a pleasure. Listen, let's
It
share. I'm gonna go
is.
get this episode to y'all. This is the third.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
This
yeah,
is
we,
take three.
the people were trying to keep us from getting this information to y'all, but we were determined as always. I love you so
Thank
very much.
you, Maven.
I'm going to drop all of your great information at the bottom. And ladies, if you have any questions from me about the some of the adjustments or changes that I've been making based on what LaShanna has helped me with, listen, reach out. You can get me on email or Instagram message or LinkedIn message. And we'll talk about it. I don't want to be the only one living a thriving
Right.
menopausal phase of my life. I want the same for you ladies. So thank you for joining us and thank you for checking in. Thank you, LaShanna, as always,
You,
for
Megan,
being
for
my
having me.
wonderful guest.
Thank you.